Welcome once again to the Think Clinical podcast. My name is Dr. Hamza Asma. It's always amazing to be here, and we appreciate all the support. Please remember to subscribe, like and share our page, and make sure you're able to share this content out there so that a lot more people will be able to see what we do here. We appreciate you once again, and this is another episode. And today I'll be walking you through digital health and digital health innovations. I want to make sure that we understand exactly what the landscape looks like, and if you are interested in walking into something like that, you need to be aware of what would work and what wouldn't work. I'll be walking you through a couple of suggestions. These are in no way foolproof business ideas that would automatically work but have a high tendency of being successful. Before you go into such a field, you need to be aware that 90% of these innovations fail in the first year. So they have a very high failure rate, and that's because this is a rapidly changing environment. This is very unstable and it's very new, as there are a lot of things that the market is not used to yet as far as digital health is concerned. So it's difficult to actually get it right. A lot of people actually believe successful digital health platforms are as a result of luck. But a big part of it is timing, and if you get your timing right with digital health innovations, you will be fine. And you agree with me that COVID changed that story for everyone when it justified the use of digital health innovations to deliver healthcare, because we had to deliver healthcare somehow, and considering all and everything that was going on, people needed to do it in the safest environment and the safest way they could, especially those who had chronic medical conditions and needed to have regular checkups. So healthcare providers who were opposed to the idea in the beginning accepted the idea of digital health. Patients who were opposed to the idea in the beginning accepted the idea of digital health. So both the consumer and the provider accepted that this is an alternative form of delivering healthcare. So platforms that came up during COVID and after COVID have seen quite a bit of success in the digital health space. I was part of the 90% who struggled a bit starting these digital health innovations, because yes, timing was obviously not the best. I started this somewhere in 2014, and we did make some money off those platforms, but those were not enough to keep the businesses sustainable. So at some point we needed to cut our losses and then close these down. But COVID has actually set a platform for these to succeed. And again, as I walk through this podcast, I would make 4 suggestions. These are again not foolproof ideas that would automatically succeed, but you have a higher chance of succeeding if you think about those. The second thing I would like to caution you before I walk you through my suggestions is that these are very broad areas, and regardless of how you look at them, they are really broad. And if you want to go into any of these things, you need to carve out your niche. And carving out your niche means that you have to define within that, what I think is a very broad sector, what you want patients and consumers to recognize you for, what you want them to come to you for. So the moment the client has that need, they only think about you, even though it's within a platform where everybody is doing the same thing. So basically what will happen is that a lot of these healthcare innovations are beginning to struggle, especially to gain traction, because there's such a thing as first mover advantage. So a lot of these have already been in the market for a while, and they've already seen some level of success, and they've built loyalty with their clients and with the market and with the patients they've been able to get on their platforms, with providers who are willing to sign on to their platforms or use their platforms. So it becomes very difficult for you to use the same model of general healthcare and general consultations to win in such a competitive environment. So if you don't want to be part of that 90% that closed down in the first year, you need to really look into these innovations and select a niche or carve out a niche for yourself that you can use to clearly define what your brand is and what you stand for. So quickly, I'm going to walk you through these. The first one is telehealth, and a lot of these innovations actually are things I've done in the past, and again, because of timing, it was a challenge to get them out there and achieve the level of success that I anticipated. But digital health, telehealth is really a very solid healthcare innovation tool that people are now using to make quite a bit of money. And again, the first movers, those who did this during COVID and immediately after COVID, are really enjoying a lot of successes because they have major hospitals using these platforms consistently. They have patients and providers who are willing to, and they are comfortable using these platforms. They have consumers who have built confidence in how confidential and how secure these platforms are, and are able to use them without fear of losing their personal information. So telehealth platforms, especially in Africa, have become something a lot of people are going into. And in the past 3 years, I have seen more of these platforms come to me in different forms and in different stages of their development for advice and for guidance on how they can build out these platforms. A few of them have seen successes, a few of them are still struggling to gain traction, but the whole idea is that if you are going into telehealth, you need to be very specific on what you want to specialize in. You can't just come into the field and do everything, or consult and recruit every provider who is willing to be on it, whether it's a general practitioner or it's a cardiologist or it's whatever. You can't just come in and just do everything. You need to be specific, and you need to carve out a niche for yourself, something that everybody will look at and say, hey, I love this idea, I'm ready to go for it. So and with as I said, with COVID, a lot of things have really been clear to providers and consumers, and the whole idea of having to go to a hospital and physically see that psychological satisfaction that comes from seeing your provider, talking to them, having them examine you in person, that psychological satisfaction of having quality care was modified when the same care was given over video conferencing platforms and other form of telemedicine platforms, where patients had situations where they felt, okay, this is adequate care, even though I couldn't see my physician physically. So we've gotten to a stage where we've passed that barrier and we are ready to really expand. So this is something we need to really pay attention. The second thing I would suggest is a healthcare database. And this is still a very big area because a lot of hospitals and healthcare providers in Africa do not have any online presence. Again, this is a field that I ventured into a couple of years ago. We set up a web-based platform called hmsghana.com. And hmsghana.com was our way of providing online presence for healthcare providers, so hospitals, diagnosis centers, pharmacy shops. And the whole idea was to make sure that whilst we provide these services and make them more visible and direct more traffic and help people to be able to identify hospitals, diagnosis centers, and pharmacy shops around them, we also wanted to be sure that this was providing a lot of convenience for the client, for the patient. So we what we noticed is that unlike developed countries where Google is well established and a lot of these providers have online presence, and you can just put in anything you want in Google and you have so much results, or so many results around you and options you can choose from. In Africa, you physically have to seek out these providers, and basically sometimes you have to walk into those facilities and find out if the services you require are actually being delivered there. So our main idea was to make sure that we put this in the palm of patients, where you can just go onto the platform, see the hospital around you, see what they do, confirm that they actually are able to offer the services for which the services you want to seek, and then you walk in there knowing that you don't have to go fishing for healthcare providers. Again, this is something we made quite a bit of money on. Again, not enough money to keep the business and keep it sustainable, even though the database is still live. We had to slow down operations on that because it became very difficult to keep the infrastructure running, especially with human resource and marketing and all the other costs that come into making sure we sell that value. But we are now identifying the need for a platform like that, especially after COVID, where people now have appreciated the use of digital health tools, and going into a space like that would actually position you very well, especially on the African continent, to be able to make yourself visible. And we have millions of tourists coming into Africa, 30-40 million tourists coming into Africa every year. And when tourists walk in, one of the concerns they have is whether or not, if they have any healthcare emergencies, they will be able to get the attention they need. And one of the easiest ways to check that is to be able to look at the area they are coming into and look at the facilities around and the services they provide. And providing such information can be a great value. If you want to build out a business like that, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to walk you through the other side of it, on how you can make revenue and how you generate revenue. At least how we generated revenue and how we kept it going. I'm happy to walk you through that, and possibly the process of really just getting it set up and running. The third thing is hospital management systems. So when you talk about hospital patient management systems, at first we had hospitals that had big rooms of file storage cabinets, because they have thousands and thousands and thousands of patients, and each patient has the whole folder that they need to keep for them. And a lot of the time, patients come in and they can't even find their folders, so their medical history is lost, and people are unable to really appreciate the value of what they are bringing in. And when a patient walks into a hospital and they are not able to access their medical records, it's a source of big frustration for them. So people started identifying the fact that if we are going to keep growing and we are going to keep having patients, some of whom will just come in once and probably will not come back again, but you have to keep their records for a time when they decide to come in. Is this sustainable? Are you going to keep building bigger and bigger rooms to be able to store your files? If your answer is no, and the answer for a long time has been no, then there's a huge consideration for digital hospital management systems, where everything is paperless, everything is taken off, is taken into the computer, and just a search. Patients' records are just a search away, and patients come in and they're confident that they will always be able to retrieve any information they want, regardless of how far off it goes in the past. So this is another thing that hospitals are investing in very strongly now, and it's something that if you can build a very robust hospital management system that provides data to the administrative staff on just how the hospital is performing, as well as data to the clinical staff on how patients are doing and everything, you stand a big chance of being very successful. The last innovation I would like to discuss is medical tourism, and this is one of the biggest innovations countries like India have been able to implement, and it has been very, very successful for them for a long time now. And medical tourism, I'm not talking about just how extensive it gets with countries like India, but as a person, if you want to get into a field like that, one idea would be to build a platform which is also digital. But your main responsibility on that platform would be find advanced healthcare options worldwide, wherever they may be located, put them on this platform, and then make this platform available to Africans and to other countries that do not have the same level of infrastructure development in terms of healthcare, so that when there is a need for advanced healthcare outside their countries, they can go on this platform and literally shop for the right hospital that fits their concern. It doesn't have to be only India, it doesn't have to be only Israel, it doesn't have to be only the United States or the United Kingdom. You can build these partnerships worldwide. There is no limit when you build such a platform on who you can put on the platform. And your work as a platform would just be to coordinate these two. This is something that I have a lot of confidence that if you have the funding and the infrastructure to build, your chances of succeeding is really, really high. And again, if you want to walk through the financial model and how you can make money off platforms like that, please reach out to me privately. I'm happy, or leave a comment down there. We'll be in touch. I'm happy to walk you through how this can be done. And again, as I said, digital health platforms are capital intensive, so it's almost always difficult to get that level of funding that will keep you going to a point where you can build the value and really start funding yourself. So these are just ideas that I feel can be successful, and I'm confident that the timing and the way the industry is moving now makes them very conducive as viable business options. So again, if you have any questions on this, leave a comment down there. I'm happy to get in touch with you, and I'll be happy to walk you into more details. 4 items that I presented. So this has been another episode of the Think Clinical podcast. It's always great to be here and share my thoughts and my experiences with you. I look forward to seeing you and talking with you in the next episode. Stay safe, take care of yourself. Remember to subscribe, like, and share the content. We will see you soon.